Hello everybody, welcome back. Today we're looking at Pre-Cal 11, Chapter 7. This is our final chapter of the book. We're doing absolute value and reciprocal functions. Alright, so the absolute value is basically whether the number is positive or negative or not, it's still equal to 4. So you can think of it, if you take a science 10 or physics, it's basically that the negative 4 you think of it as direction. Okay, so we know that negative 4 is from 0 to negative 4. We know 4 is 0 over the 4 to the right, but they're both equal to 4. So that's basically what absolute value indicates. So the absolute value of A is equal to positive A. So absolute value of A is equal to positive A if A is greater than or equal to 0, and negative A if A is less than 0. Okay? The absolute value of any number other than 0 is positive, so absolute value of 0 is 0. When using order of operations, the value bars is considered the same as brackets, so do everything inside the absolute value bars, and then write the value of the expression after the fact. Okay? So this is going to be equal to 29, right? Okay? So the absolute value of negative 29 is 29. The absolute value of 12 is 12. Absolute value of that would be 3, because 51 divided by 17 is 3. So it's positive 3. So we just, again, you may want to show it 51 divided by 17. And then equal to 3. That's fine like that. That'll be okay. Alright. Next we have negative 15 and 1/2. Decimal, same thing. 6 decimal 7. And negative 1 decimal 8 would be 1 decimal 8. Okay? So decimals, same idea, in fractions. Alright? So problem set number 2 will order each of the following from least to greatest. Now the negatives outside the brackets will keep the number negative, right? So this negative doesn't make it positive. It's still going to be negative. Okay? So we'll write these as what each of them are. So the first one will be 1/5. Next one would be negative 1/5. Okay, because you take the absolute value of the 1/5 and then you make it negative. Next one would be negative 2/5. Next one would be 6/5. And the last one would be 4/5. Okay? So when we order these numbers from least to greatest, alright, so we order numbers least to greatest. That's what it looks like. What the absolute value of those numbers are, so we have to order these from least to greatest, but you put the original back when you're ordering. Okay? So that's going to be equal to and the smallest number there is obviously the negative 2/5. So we have to rewrite negative negative 2/5. Oh. Okay, so remember, just like we did in like when radicals or anytime we did anything order least to greatest, you put the original back in the question. So that's the smallest. The next smallest is the negative 1/5, which was the negative absolute value 1/5. next smallest is 1/5, and that was the absolute value of negative 1/5. Next we had was 4/5, which was the absolute value, negative 4/5. And the biggest we had was 6/5, which was just the absolute value of 6/5. Okay? And that's it. That's all to it. The next one we're going to do the same thing, ordering from least to greatest. So this time I won't show this step here. I'm just going to do the calculation. Okay? But if you want, you can. I'm going to steal this just to make my life easy. Okay? So the numbers that are going to be negative are the first and the last. So your smallest value is going to be the negative 9/7 right here. And then this will still be negative, so it'll be negative 1/7. The next, the largest number here is obviously 1, so it's going to be 7/7. Put that there now. Right, it's the largest number. And, oh, sorry, yeah, that's the largest number. And then the second largest would be the 4/7 here. And then the middle number is the negative 1/7. And that's it. Okay? So this would give you negative 9/7, this would give you negative 1/7, this would give you 1/7, this would give you 4/7, and this would give you 7/7. Alright? So this is what we talked about before in the order of operations. So we do the operation and then we take the absolute value. So consider inside the brackets first. Alright. Equals. So that would be negative 4, right? We take the operation and that would equal 4. Positive 4, right? So 3 minus 7 is negative 4. Absolute value would be 4. Okay? Negative, and then what we're going to do is the order of operations. So you're going to leave the brackets. You're going to square it at the end. Okay? So we have our brackets, and that whole thing is squared. Okay? And we have the absolute value inside that. Alright? So the 5 minus 11 will be negative 6 squared. And if you're squaring the absolute value, it's not going to make a difference in this case, but you still do the operation. So that would be equal 6 squared, because the absolute value of 6 is 6, or sorry, of negative 6 is 6, and that would equal 36. Okay? And the last one there, again, just follow the order of operations. So we have 9. So we have 9 minus 7. We're going to have to multiply first, so we got that plus 14, right? The negative 7 times the negative 2 will give you 14. Because the multiplication and division becomes 4, adding, subtracting. So that gives you 23, and your answer is 23. Okay? Next, the absolute value. So we have the absolute value within an absolute value. That's what these double lines represent. So again, so the negative 2 minus, and then you'd have to take the absolute value of the negative 5, which would be 5. So absolute value of negative 5 is 5, and subtract 5. So you got to be careful there. And then we have negative 7, and then we have 7. Okay. Oh. The next one here, we have 14 so the absolute value of 14 minus the absolute value of 9. So that's going to be, it's pretty straightforward with this one. absolute value is 14. Absolute value of negative 9 is 9. So it just becomes 14 subtract 9. And that equals 5. That's it. Next one. So we're going to do the multiplication here first. So 2 times negative 10 is negative 20 divided by well, we'll do it slow. We'll do each step. I won't do the whole thing there, just so we see it. So that would be negative 20 divided by 5, right? And then minus another absolute value sign. And that would be positive 36 over 4. Okay. And again, you can skip some of these steps if you were doing this, right? Now we have negative 4 over 9. Again, like I said, you don't have to do all these steps. And that would just be 4 subtract 9. And then your answer would be negative 5, right? And it can't be negative because everything here is absolute value, subtracting everything here is absolute value. So you can't end up with a negative, right? Just be mindful of that. So the next one here, what we're going to do is we'll square the negative 3. We'll get 9 minus 8, right? So square, or sorry, cube negative 3. That's my bad. Cube negative 3, which would be negative 27, minus 2 cubed, which is 8. So that'll give you the absolute value of negative 35, which will equal 35. Okay? And the last one, h, absolute value of negative 2. Oh. Absolute value of negative 2 is 2. Absolute value of negative 6 is 6. So you get 2 minus 4, and that will give you negative 4. Alright? So that'll be it for the first video. In the next video, we'll come back and we'll finish 7 decimal 1 absolute value. Thanks for everybody for watching, and we'll talk again soon.